Weekend. I'm your host, Jack. Let's get into it, Minnie. So tonight, for our drink of the podcast, we're doing the second of the three drinks I got from that Kul Mocks variety pack. It came with I had it pulled up. Sorry, it came with the gin and tonic that we had. I was sipping on the second of the two that came in the pack on the NHL podcast, but did it the first time 2 weeks ago with Sam. And this time, instead of going with margarita, which will be classic margarita, which will be up next, I went with the peach hibiscus cider, and I really like it. It says it's hinted with some vodka, but it doesn't taste like anything like that. Peach hibiscus cider, like I said, peach and Honeycrisp apple mixed with notes of floral hibiscus, infused with a vodka-like spirit note for an artisanal drinking experience. I like it. It kind of tastes a little bit more like a juice to me than anything, but I do like it. I would probably enjoy this one and come to this one a little bit more than that gin and tonic. Like I said, it didn't taste awful, but there was just something about it that I was just like, nah, kind of not too crazy about. But yeah, like I said, I like it. They're Kul Mocks. It's KULMOCKS. You can check them out on that.com. And then I know they for sure have Facebook and Instagram. Looks like they also have TikTok. So yeah, go check them out. Like I said, they've been on CBS, NBC, Forbes. They're women owned, and they're actually based out of our sister state, or the state right to the east of us in Wisconsin, which is kind of cool. It's not Minnesota, but close enough. But yeah, go check them out. I like it. A little tart, but yeah, you kind of get a little bit of overwhelming a little bit of the peach. The hibiscus, you kind of get that floral taste a little bit more as the drink goes down. So, like I said, solid drink. I would give it probably, let's go 7.7. I like it. So, yeah, before we get on farther from that, first and foremost, I do apologize for not coming on last night, like the usual Wednesday night episodes that we do. But if I'm being completely honest with you guys, was feeling a little bit off, super sleepy. So, kind of did when I thought and everything kind of transpired the way I was hoped. Got a good night's sleep and feeling better than ever for you guys. But for my sports bettors, don't worry. None of the games that I had planned this week for you guys happened tonight or on Friday, tomorrow, or later tonight if you're watching Friday morning here. All of them will be happening on Saturday, Sunday. So without further ado, let's just kick right into it. So for Tommie, college hockey is back. This last weekend, both the men's and the women's teams were in action. For the men's team, last Sunday on the 20th, or last Sunday, the 20th ranked men's hockey team was in fighting the number 16 ranked St. Cloud State Huskies in a close 1-0 loss in front of a sold-out crowd at the St. Thomas Ice Arena. This would also mark the first game in the program's history that they came in nationally ranked, which is kind of a big deal. The Tommies would actually go on to outshoot the Huskies 34-28, which was quite impressive. But nothing could really beat St. Cloud's goalie Posh. And actually, the game's only goal was scored just over 5.5 minutes into the game after there were 4 penalties called on 4 different players, 2 on each team, for roughing after the whistle. So it was an even strength goal, but it happened 4-on-4. And after that, there was pretty much no scoring the rest of the game. So as far as if you like good defensive games in hockey, that was definitely the one for you to watch. Next up for the men's team, they are going to welcome the Vermont Catamounts for the first time in program history at the St. Thomas Ice Arena. Game 1 is going to be at 7:07 on Friday, the 11th. and the second of the two games will be at 6:07 p.m. on the 12th. And it's also worth noting that these two teams actually did face off last year. It was just in Vermont. And the Catamounts took both games 4-1 and 5-1. So this year, the Tommies will look to get their sweep on the Catamounts like they got on us last year. As for the women's hockey team, they actually had their first season series this last weekend against the Post Eagles, and they came away with a huge sweep, winning 7-0 on Friday, the 4th, and then a 4-1 win on the 5th. Finished up that sweep for them on Saturday. And then on Friday, sophomores Riley Bartz and Maddie Brown and Kiera Bronson, I think was her name. I don't know how to pronounce it. All had 2 goals apiece in that game, while Bartz and Brown both led the team. Sophomores, those 3 sophomore girls were the only girls that finished the weekend with multiple goals, while Riley Bartz and Maddie Brown both led the team with 4 points apiece over the last weekend. Friday night saw Kira Parker and Maddie Brown both scoring the game's first 6 minutes, only a minute and a half apart, and then they would score 3 goals in the third period to put the game on ice. Friday night actually also saw Calla Frank stop all 7 shots en route to her first win of the season and 6th win as a Tommie's goalie. So a big congratulations to her. Then on Saturday night, the ladies entered the third period with a 3-goal lead before both teams would trade power play goals in the third. Riley Bartz would get the Tommie's first power play goal of the year, while freshman goalie Danny Strom would get her first collegiate win in her first collegiate start, stopping 6 of 7 shots. So a huge congratulations to her. And to top it all off, freshman Chloe Boreen from my alma mater, Hill Murray, actually picked up her first WCHA this back Monday on the 7th after picking up 3 points in the weekend against the Eagles as she was named the WCHA Rookie of the Week. She recorded her first multi-point game on Friday while scoring the final goal for the Tommies, and in Game 2 picked up an assist to round out that 3-point weekend. So once again, a huge congratulations to her, as her and her teammates swept them last year in their second meeting of the season. So hoping to get that winning streak up to 4. So good luck to them, and can't wait to see what they do. As for the basketball teams, it is, what can I put the date? 10. We're a week and a half into October. And you know what that means? That means basketball is right around the corner. The NBA will be starting in the next week and a half, 2 weeks, I believe. And college basketball will get underway a little bit after that first week in November. But don't worry, we got lots to talk about tonight. And the men and women's basketball teams are one of them. So just 2 days ago, the men's basketball team was voted amongst the coaches of the Bowl to finish 4th for the second straight year in the Summit League. In fact, they were actually the only team in the top 7 to not have a first place vote. Kansas City was picked to finish first with 514 points and 17 first place votes. South Dakota had 474 points and 12 first place votes. North Dakota State would have 384 points with 3 first place votes. And then the Tommies would finish 4th, like I said, with 308 points. And then even the 5th place Oral Robert Golden Eagles finished with 305 points and 2 first place points. So this team is obviously ready to prove any doubters wrong. But it is also worth noting that between Kansas City, I think Kansas City it sounds like had a really good recruiting class between incoming freshmen and the transfer portal. But South Dakota State and North Dakota State, I can't remember the exact number, but both of those teams account for, I believe it was like the last 10 of the last 12 Summit League championships to go to March Madness. So, and on top of that, in the early 2000s, Oral Roberts was usually always the one in there. So I'm sure part of the history had to do with the voting. they probably weren't trying to slight us by any means, but still got to prove those doubters wrong. And then lastly, for the men's basketball team, they had the second straight year that they landed a preseason all-league first-team selection. Junior Kendall Blue was named to the preseason all-league first team. This is his first career preseason honor for the Woodbury Guard, and he started in all 33 games last year for the Tommies as the leading scorer and rebounder. In his 33 games last year, he averaged 10.6 points per game and 4.1 rebounds per game on just under 50% shooting from the field, which is remarkable. So a huge congratulations to him. We can't wait to see what he can do this upcoming season with our Parker Bjorklund and Raheem Anthony on the team. Don't worry, we didn't lose them. We just, for something stupid, we lost them due to graduation. And then for the women's basketball team, 2 days ago, that team found themselves picked 5th in the Summit League preseason poll behind South Dakota State, Oral Roberts, North Dakota State, and South Dakota, respectively. But more importantly, for this team, they found themselves not one, but two. Yes, you heard that right. Two preseason all-conference team members in senior Jade Hill and junior Amber Scalia. Both Hill and Scalia played an integral role in the Tommies' 15-16 record last year and 7-9 in conference play. Both Jade Hill and Amber Scalia both started all 31 games for the team. And in points per game, assists per game, blocks per game, and steals per game were all either 1 or 2 for the team. So a lot of points and everything returned for this team. You can't wait to see what they're doing. They will do this 15-16 record is their first 50-plus win in D1 history. I think the year before that, I don't even think they won 10 games. So made a huge improvement from the 22-23 season to the 23-24 season. So can't wait to see what they do this year as well. And then now for the football teams, the Tommie football team got back in the win column, beating the Stetson Hatters, holding on for a 34-24 lead. In large part, very similarly to the Vikings this last week, found themselves up 28-0 and 30 after the first, and 31-3 at halftime. But Stetson just, did the right things, kind of similar to the Jets with the Vikings. Came out and outscored us in the second half, obviously, 21-3 to make it a close game. But ultimately, like I said, we would hang on to win, moving to 2-3 on the year and 1-0 in Pioneer Football League play. So, getting another step in the next direction, getting into the thick of things here. The Tommies didn't have a great passing performance, as Tatioka passed for only 66 yards on 7 completions. Still didn't have, an overwhelming amount of rushing. Hope Adebayo led the way with 86 yards. Tack had 40 himself, and then Gabriel Abel rushed for 27 yards. Hope Adebayo would be the only Tommie with a rushing touchdown. And actually, part of this big reason for this win was special teams. There were 2 punt returns for touchdowns and a pick six, and then a pick six, and all that kind of stuff. So, like I said, kind of not an overall great day for the offense, but got a much needed win after going lackluster and was it 0-4 in non-conference play? No, 1-3 heading into Pioneer Football League play. But yeah, the Tommies will now be getting ready for a trip to Poughkeepsie to take on the Mars Red Foxes. That'll be AM Central Standard Time. This game will actually be on ESPN Plus, so I am super stoked about getting to see it on ESPN Plus. Can't wait. Hopefully, the kiddo will watch a little bit of it with me, and should be a fun game. And hopefully they can get back to 500 on the season and kind of keep that momentum going as they get into the thick of things. With that, they will have 2 straight games on the road before coming home for a San Diego game on the 26th and alternating home, away, home to end the season. Now, before we get into our bets and everything else, the Golden Gopher football team. Holy fucking shit. Don't feel great about dropping all those swear words there, but my God, like this win is the epitome of kind of what I was talking about kind of in the preseason prediction, kind of getting ready for the season and just talking about this team. And, I always bring up with this team, just the wild inconsistency. It's not always necessarily a bad thing because very similar to the Vikings in years past, they will usually find a way to beat a team they have no business beating. Like, SoCal, USC came into this game, I think, 7th in the nation. And, I mean, I'm still a little bit in shock by this. I mean, we were, it was close most of the game. We took a 3-0 lead in the first quarter and then traded leads before going into halftime tied, 10-10. And all things were looking like we were going to lose that game up until Max Brosmer decided to rush for his 3rd touchdown of the game. He, I have to eat my words. He really put the team on his back in this game. He didn't have a great game. I misspoke there again. He didn't have a great game rushing wise as far as like yards and everything like that, but he was very productive and very efficient. He threw for 169 yards on 15 completions and only rushed for 20 yards on his 7 attempts, but he rushed for our only 3 touchdowns, which is remarkable. I don't know that that's been done by Minnesota quarterback in God knows how long. So it's, as far as, looking ahead, we've talked about this at length on the podcast, so I try not to look too far ahead, but I think them winning this game is very, very important for their bowl game hopes, because now all of a sudden, like, I had this as a game that they were going to lose. So had they lost this game, I'm just going to edit this out. So had they lost this game, they would have been going into a UCLA game, which they should win. They would have been going into this UCLA game 2-3, hoping to use this game to get to 500. But now that, after beating USC, going into this UCLA game, they are able to get a little bit of consistency in beating the teams that they should beat. Again, this is one of the teams, Minnesota teams, that I try not to get too far ahead. Like, I don't feel as bad kind of getting ahead of myself with teams like, the Vikings State, or, the Wild or the Timberwolves after last year. But this football team we've gone over before, like, since 2019, wildly inconsistent and just aren't, are losing games that they have no reason to lose to. Now, with beating USC, they go to UCLA, which should be a pretty easy win. We'll have to wait and see. Then they host Maryland, which they should win. Then they go to Illinois, which they should win. And then they go to Rutgers. So all of a sudden, you win UCLA, Maryland, Illinois, Rutgers. That's 7 or 4 games. So now all of a sudden, you're looking at being 7-3 going into that Penn State game and Wisconsin game. That Penn State game, I'm telling you, even though it's at Huntington Bank Stadium, it's going to be a dogfight. It's going to be a very tough game to win. But you string those 4 games together, you're sitting at a 7-3 record. And if you're PJ Fleck, as much as you may not like to admit it, you're sitting in a place where you're able to lose those last 2 games and still be bowl eligible. And, it may not be a great game, but at least you still keep up that, hey, we're at least making bowl games and at least, taking those steps forward. And all of those kinds of things. All those kinds of things. So, yeah, that's what I have. for the Gophers, and I mean their rushing yards per game is still phenomenal as far as defense is considered. Um, like I said, I still have some questions as far as Max Brosmer is concerned with the passing game and things like that. So you hope that this rushing game can help. But like I said, all signs are pointing up for this team. Like this season is theirs for the taking at this point. If they can, I mean, even these next, even if they can win 3 of these next 4 games, you're still putting yourself in a position to be successful at the very least. So yeah, that's what I have on the Gopher football team this year. This week. Now for our Week 7 college football picks of the week. So coming into this week, 6 weeks into the season for college football, we're now 9 for 18 of our picks, which isn't great. Hitting at an even 50%. We're not atrocious, but we're not doing as good as we expected, and we're going to get that turned around for you guys. So the first play I like this weekend is one of the 6:30 games on Saturday the 12th. I'm actually taking LSU +3 over Ole Miss. This is a home game for LSU, and I really think Brian Kelly turns it on in big games. And couple that with the fact that it's just hard to win in Death Valley at night. In those scenarios, that team is nearly unbeatable. I think they're going to have their fans rocking at that stadium that night, and I think LSU is just going to win that game outright with spread being that close. Second game I like is actually another 6:30 game on the 12th. Ohio State and Oregon. I'm taking over 53 points in this one. For me, this game just truly features 2 very high-powered offenses in Ohio State and Oregon. Ohio State comes into this game averaging 46 points per game, while Oregon is coming in averaging 37 points per game. I think this game defense is going to be completely optional. Look for both of these teams to air it out, run it. I fully anticipate this game being very, very high scoring and a lot of fun to watch, quite frankly. And then the last game I like is Vanderbilt +14 over Kentucky. This game starting 15 minutes after these 2 games. Going all night games for you guys this week. I'm riding the hot hand with this pick. Vanderbilt is fresh off their biggest win in school history over Alabama this last week. For me, they beat a good Virginia Tech team earlier in the year. They played Missouri very close, almost winning that one outright too. If I'm being completely honest, I don't know that they'll be able to win outright in Kentucky. Road games seem to be difficult for them. But I just think +14, that's just way too many points for a team that is coming, like I said, fresh off their biggest win in school history. So expect them to be competitive and keep it, if nothing else, a close game with the Kentucky Wildcats. And then before we get too much into the the Vikings and the NFL for you guys this week, we actually have some really awesome updates. So first and foremost, it was announced today that the Pollad family is selling the team. After listening to all their fans, they are done treating the Twins like a straight-up business and selling the team. So, with the resources that I have and with who I've been reading up on, there isn't really much information on who would be interested in buying the team, things like that. But at this point, anybody would be better than them. I think, a lot of people are upset because I think a lot of Minnesota fans feel like we were probably one good quality pitcher away and one good solid utility player throughout the field to kind of help out with Correas and Buxtons and the injuries and stuff like that, away from being just as competitive the rest of the season and competing for the pennant as anybody else. But the team just didn't want to pony up the money, and quite frankly, as much as professional sports are a business, you got to keep your fans happy, because if you don't keep your fans happy, how are you going to be making money? So smart move by them. Can't wait to see what happens with them. Obviously, very long off season at this point, so a lot of time for rumors and stuff to happen. Didn't say when they were hoping to sell the team by, just that they're officially putting the team on the market. And like I said, on behalf of a lot of Minnesota Twins fans, I could not be happier. So we got that news for you guys. The Wild, they opened up the season tonight. They're currently playing right now. Currently up what's that, 2-1 on the Columbus Blue Jackets at home. Once again, they're home for 2 games here before heading on the road for, I think it's like a 5 or 6 game road streak here. But yeah, first goal of the season for the Wild came from none other than Matt Boldy, which kind of surprised me because I have to be the first to admit I haven't really been paying too much attention yet because, again, this NHL season kind of goes very quickly from preseason to those first couple of games abroad to opening up the season and everything like that. And when they were in preseason, Matt Boldy was down with some kind of lower body injury that they were expecting him to be out potentially for the home opener and maybe a couple extra games. So the fact that he came back and scored the first goal and currently has the second assist on the Joel Eriksson goal is pretty amazing. Pretty amazing to start off that way. But yeah, I mean, like I said, not to get too much into it because we kind of broke down the NHL season of the Wild a little bit there. But I think the name of the game this season for the Wild is goaltending. What are we gonna get from Fleury? Philip Gustafson got the start tonight. What are we gonna get from Gus? When can we anticipate Wallstead getting some goals or games? It sounds like, after talking with some friends and looking up the Wild a little bit myself too, on their 23-man roster, they are carrying 3 goalies. They're carrying Jesper, Gus, and Marc-Andre Fleury. And what it's sounding is going to happen is that they'll have no problem sending Wallstead down to get some minutes if it's a matter of, okay, everything so far is working out with our 2 goalies. But yes, as of right now, they plan on carrying 3 goalies and only 20 skaters, which is a little unusual. But I don't hate it. And again, Billy Guerin, one of these, higher ups in Minnesota sports that I trust. So hopefully we can hang on here, and win this game. Obviously, we've talked about this before. For me, the NHL is the hardest league to bet on games, just because you could have on any given night you could have the best team in the league going up against the worst team in the league, and the worst team in the league could get good bounces, hot goalie, and anybody can beat anybody at any time. So, in hockey, I think you have to do a little bit better job of not reading into the scores, whereas in the NBA, it's like, okay, if you're the Boston Celtics coming off of, the title win and, a week or 2 into the season, you're beating an injury-ridden Memphis Grizzlies by like 5 points or eking it out last second. Like, kind of, you got to keep worried about that. Yeah, like I said, 2-1. Going into the third period, it looks like the second period just got done. And yeah, like I said, hopefully they can hold on to this win and get some things going there. And then, yeah, I guess the only other thing, other than getting into the Timberwolves a little bit here, the only other team I had some news on are Minnesota Lynx are in the WNBA Finals tonight, and they're taking on the New York Liberty in New York tonight, looking to steal game 1. It looks like the fourth quarter is just coming to a close, and we're down 80-83, so hopefully we can get a big shot. And obviously a huge congratulations to them. This is their first WNBA Finals appearance since 2017. So hoping that they can bring home the great state of Minnesota another championship. So good luck to them. Pisa Collier, Courtney Williams, Kayla McBride, all those girls. Congratulations. Bring us home some more hardware. Hopefully there will be another team or 2 this year or next year within the next couple of years bringing stuff home with you guys. So yeah, gonna be more proud. And then for the Timberwolves, I didn't realize their preseason schedule was so wonky and weird. So they played their first preseason game against the Los Angeles Lakers. Was that a couple days ago, the 4th? Then they don't have their next one until tomorrow, which seems odd to have a week off in the preseason before fucking games. But I have to be completely honest with you guys. Like, preseason games, again, not much to look into. You're trying to see, who's going to be, the last couple guys on the bench and things like that. But I gotta say, I saw a lot of good things. I didn't watch it start to finish, but I did watch a good portion of it. And I have to say, I saw a lot of good things from the guys you wanted to see good things from. Rob Dillingham, took a lot of shots, 9 of 20 from the field, but finished with 21 points, 4 assists, a rebound, looked good. Both, Nickeil Alexander-Walker and Terrence Shannon Jr. both finished with 2 blocks. But even guys like Josh Minot finished with 22 points. Luka Garza, who I think is a dog, finished with 20 points, 9 rebounds. Some of these guys, a lot of people are like, would have been nice to see Anthony Edwards or Julius Randle play. Guys like that don't usually play in the preseason until maybe at the very end. But they look good. Even Dante DiVincenzo played 10 minutes, got 11 points, perfect 4 of 4 shooting from the field, 3 for 3 from 3-point range. And I think as far as 3-point shooting is concerned, I think Dante DiVincenzo is a way better 3-point shooter than Karl-Anthony Towns. And Karl-Anthony Towns is a great 3-point shooter for a big man. But yeah, he finished with 11 points, 2 rebounds, an assist. A lot of good things to like about this team. I think they're going to be super deep this year. If you go to the Timberwolves, like if you look at their depth chart, this team is going to be very deep this year. Like right now, their starting lineup is Mike Conley, Anthony Edwards, Jaden McDaniels, Julius Randle, Rudy Gobert. After that, you got Rob Dillingham, Dante DiVincenzo, Joe Ingles, Naz Reid, and Nickeil Alexander-Walker. And then I'm not kidding you guys. Even Luka Garza can come into the mix. Keta Bates, Diop. And a lot of people, I saw an article actually earlier today that talked about how part of the reason the Timberwolves moved on from Cat and his contract is because some people among the league think that Naz Reid is not far off from replacing Cat, like straight up. And I couldn't agree more. I think you kind of see a little bit more of the star power from Cat from the at least perspective that he starts more and he plays a little bit more. Every time Naz Reid is on the floor, he is a presence on the offensive side of things, on the defensive side of things. He's a good passer. He's a good 3-point shooter from a 3-2. Like, I think he can do just about everything. I think he can do everything that Cat can do. I think for me, the biggest difference between the two of them, I think Cat's ceiling is, higher than Naz Reid. But I think with where Naz Reid is, he's more consistent in his wavelength than Karl-Anthony Towns is. So really, I think this team is set up for success this year. We're running back a lot of the same team. We replaced, Kyle Anderson with Joe Ingles, which I think is not too much of a thing to make of. Like I said, I think Naz Reid is going to be awesome. I think Dante DiVincenzo is going to be awesome whether it comes off the bench or not. Then I think you have a really good point guard in Rob Dillingham to kind of take those minutes off of Mike Conley as he just gets older. And then even Terrence Shannon Jr., it'll be interesting to see where he fits in the thick of things. Because he could, come the playoffs, he could be a huge role player as well. So, like I said, lots of good things to like from this team. But, yeah. Moving on, for our Vikings, I can't believe these words are about to come out of my mouth, but our Minnesota Vikings are heading into our Week 6 bye, a perfect 5-0. Yeah, it's insane to think about. I think for me, it's impressive. What the f- right now, is this team capable of winning the Super Bowl? Absolutely. Once again, with the offense playing the way it has, with the defense playing the way it has, our star rookie kicker is playing out of this world so far. Everything just seems to be clicking for us. Will we be able to keep up all of these facets of our game the entire year? I certainly hope so. No one really knows. At some point, the offense might take a dip, the defense might take a dip, and you hope it's just not too much to kind of course correct it, those kinds of things. But I think, one thing I will say about your question, Samantha, I think these first 5 games have proven a lot of people that this team is for real. This is a team that's going to be in the thick of things come playoff time. This is a team that's going to be in the thick of things come, NFC North Division time. And they're stingy. I mean, again, I think, talking about it earlier in the season, I think this defense is just showing that all these talented pieces, working cohesively can do so many different things. I mean, we saw this last week against arguably the best, one of the greatest quarterbacks to ever do it, that in his 20 years in the league has seen so many different kind of defenses, practically every single defense in the book. And we made him confused, making uncharacteristic throws, and it was a great sight to see, truly. So excited for this team. I'm glad they kind of get a week off, to kind of regroup and kind of get going for the next part of their schedule. Because if I am being honest, our offense these last 2 games haven't looked amazing. But, again, just tidy some things up. Hopefully this Aaron Jones injury doesn't linger, and we should honestly be good, in my opinion. We should honestly be good. Then I think there was one other thing I saw that I took a picture of for everybody too. Yeah, so this is the Minnesota Vikings in a nutshell via PFF Power Rankings after week 5. The Vikings now have an 87% chance of making the playoffs, a 49% chance to win the division, a 16% chance to win the NFC, and an 8% chance to win the Super Bowl, while having the 3rd easiest remaining schedule. Again, this team is right on the cusp of doing something great, and I think it'll be a fun season the rest of the way. So, with that, why don't we leave it with my picks for you guys this week? So, for our NFL picks coming into week 6 here for the NFL through week 5, we're hitting at a 53% rate, 8 for 15. So, my lock of the week for you guys is the Steelers as 3-point favorites over the Raiders. I think the Steelers had it rough on the road against the Colts, and then at home versus the Cowboys. As a run-heavy formula fueled by Fields, failed with defense getting worn down late. I think in this game they don't really need to worry too much about a real run defense or a passing game, as the Steelers are just going to dominate the Raiders, truthfully. I think, Fields will show up against his former offensive coordinator, working on the other side with a 100-yard rushing game, while TJ Watt just wreaks havoc on Aiden O'Connell. I got the Steelers winning this one comfortably, 28-10. And then for my upset of the week, I actually have the Buccaneers as hold on, good. Yes. So upset of the week, Buccaneers as 2-point favorite, 2-point underdogs over the Saints. The Saints, truthfully, in looking at this, are coming off of a short week, and the Buccaneers will be coming up on a mini bye after they played on Thursday Night Football. Feeling well rested after playing an overtime loss. I think Baker Mayfield is going to keep playing very well. Another away game in the division. This time, I think the results are going to be better, especially with the defense digging deeper to slow down Alvin Kamara and making the game sealing play against a backup player. Or I got the Buccaneers winning that one comfortably, 31-24. And then, just like in years past, with the bye week and no Vikings game, I do have a extra game for you guys, and that extra pick of the week is the Commanders as +7 underdogs over the Ravens. Hear me out. I think this is the best battle of the beltweight ever, with Heisman winning dual threat MVP candidate Jaden Daniels facing off against Lamar Jackson. I think the defenses have started to show plenty of holes, meaning the offensive fireworks of chunk runs and big pass plays will not disappoint. But I think Jackson's experience and help from Derrick Henry will give them a slight edge over Daniels, who is still on the road despite a short local trip. I don't necessarily think the Commanders are going to win this one outright, but I think 7 points. I think the Commanders are just playing really good football right now. They're going to keep riding that, and I actually have the Ravens winning this one 34-30. I wouldn't be completely surprised if the Commanders shock the world and beat the Ravens, though. So that's what I have for you guys. Vikings games through the first 4 games are hitting at 4 of 5, which is awesome. Our locks, not so bueno, at 1 for 5, and then our upsets are a little bit better at 3 for 5. And then our in-game predictions, thank God we have a bye week that we don't need to give you guys some, because our offensive are 0 for 5. Our defensive are honorable at 3 for 5. So, like I said, we're going to hit the reset button on those, get some better intel coming for you guys for the Detroit game. But yeah, enjoy the bye week. Spend some time now that it's going to get a little bit cooler this upcoming weekend with family. Maybe go to a pumpkin patch, and we will reconnect next week. Till next time, Minnie.